Today we're going to be talking about relationships, healthy relationships, and jealousy. Currently, it is the day before Valentine's Day, and so it's a great time to talk about love and relationships and how we relate to one another and jealousy, all of these negative emotions that tend to come up in relationships and make them toxic. I have borderline personality disorder, so my history and my past is full of a lot of tumultuous relationships, a lot of difficulty communicating and connecting with people, but also some of the most intense and deep love has gone through my body and through my relationships and into my life through these really wonderful people who I've fallen in love with over the course of my life. I've had such amazing partners who have been totally toxic at times, and I've been totally toxic at times. And so I think coming from this place of loving love, if you're a Lana Del Rey fan, for instance, I think Lana Del Rey understands relationships in much the same way that I do, except she doesn't have any of the negativity or resentment that I seem to carry. So I've had to think a lot about relationships. It seems to be the number one thing that I care about in my life. When I look at my journals, that's what they're full of. I have dedicated so much time to UNICULT and to my art, and it's nothing in comparison to how much passion and dedication I have to trying to be in relationships. So what is a relationship? Let's start there. What does it mean to have a romantic relationship? Unfortunately, I think a lot of us actually have relationships that end up being an attempt to keep someone hostage. An attempt to keep someone hostage so that we can replay our childhood trauma. And just think about it for a second. Do you feel like that's accurate? When you think of your own relationships, what does it mean to be in a romantic relationship? What does it mean to be connected to someone in a romantic way or to long for that romantic relationship? We have to acknowledge that a lot of the time we are spent, if we're alone, a lot of people are serial monogamists and they cannot be alone. If you are in a relationship, you're going to be experiencing certain things, but if you're alone, you're going to be able to connect with yourself in a much deeper way, and you're also going to have a different view of what it means. So what is a relationship? A lot of us think, oh, it's this person who's going to save me. Maybe you think that way. You think, oh, a romantic relationship is something that makes you happy forever. I'm going to find somebody who's going to make me happy forever. We're going to get married and have kids and stay together forever. And everybody who isn't that is just fucking up my life. Or a relationship is just somebody who you sort of keep on the side and have sex with. And then, that's not really your main relationship. A lot of people aren't actually relationship driven. So just think about it for yourself. Who are you in relationships, and what are relationships to you? I mentioned that I think that a lot of times it's that we are holding someone else hostage, playing out our childhood trauma. And the way that I see trauma, I really have done a lot of research in the past year and a lot of awakening in my life around the role that trauma has played in my life and in my relationships, and the role that trauma has played in my desires to find and connect with people. And my understanding of trauma is that as children, we are programmed with a certain set of behaviors, a certain set of expectations, and a certain set of pledges that we give to the universe, to our parents, to ourselves. Oh, mom doesn't like when I cry, so I'm not going to cry anymore. I pledge not to cry anymore. And you make this agreement, you make this contract. This is a concept that's from Theta Healing. Okay, so the idea in Theta Healing is that we're making these contracts with ourselves, with our parents, with the universe, all before the age of 7. This is all before we're even conscious of doing so. So when we find out that our mom is upset with us when we cry, we think, oh, okay, I'm not going to cry when I need this or that. So we learn to repress ourselves, and honestly, I really do believe a lot of the act of socialization is actually the act of repressing the true emotions. When in a utopian society, the act of child rearing and the act of socialization should actually be the ability to authentically express our emotions and learn how to emotionally regulate in a healthy way rather than emotionally suppress or repress. Most of our parents did not teach us healthy emotional regulation. What this leads to is a toxic or disruptive emotional pattern, otherwise known as an attachment theory. This goes into attachment theory. Based on how our parents treated us, based on how our parents gave us love, either they smothered us or they were inconsistent, or they gave us attention and then they were absent, or you grew up in a chaotic environment like I did where I was neglected half the time and then, and then I was cared for half the time, or if you were told that you had to be a certain way and parts of you were not accepted, or if your parents made it so that you had to sort of care about their needs instead of your own. All of these things are options that have the potential to severely and significantly impact the way that you show up in relationships and the desires and the goals that you have with those relationships. When you start to understand relationship theory and relationship and trauma and all of the things that we're carrying, all of this baggage, we can call it, that we're carrying into our relationships, you realize we're not really communicating any of this. And this is an important aspect of UNICULT, is this idea of communication and of the rejection of labels. What I mean is that when you show up in a relationship, you give that relationship a certain societally accepted label. Okay, now we're boyfriend and boyfriend. Now we're boyfriend and girlfriend. Now we're girlfriend and girlfriend. Now we're joyfriend and joyfriend. Whatever your gender is, it doesn't fucking matter. You enter into a relationship, you give it a label. Oh, we're going steady. Oh, we're just friends with benefits. Oh, we're engaged. These are all labels. And these labels are not you and your partner's decision about what your relationship is, or even anything to do with the relationship. Actually, it's an agreement that you and your partner have made to fit into a societally identified box. How much information is in the societally identified box? 1, okay. 2, is your interpretation of the societally identified box the same interpretation as your partner? If you say, I'm going to get married to you, you're now my wife, I'm now your husband, what does that mean to each other? So I heard one of my friends got married, and he said the relationship went down the hill after they got married because she kept saying, well, you're my husband. You have to do this because you're my husband. You owe it to me because we're married now. So because they got married, the label switched, and the wife's interpretation of the relationship then switched into an obligatory relationship. We're going to talk about obligations and about shame in a minute. That's a very important aspect. But let's just finish up thinking about labels and this idea that your interpretation of the word boyfriend, your interpretation of the word going steady, of the word partner, might not be the same interpretation as your partner. These are agreed upon definitions, and this is where a lot of confusion, a lot of disruption, a lot of upsetness comes into relationships, because there's the expectation that's attached to the societally identified label that might not be shared from both parties. This is something I think a lot of people miss. It's really important to have conversations about your expectations about the relationship and not just rely on socially identified labels. This is just one easy thing. Once you get into the UNICULT understanding of relationships and you let go of the preconceived notions of what it means to be in a relationship, and you start seeing your partner or your romantic interest or whoever, everyone in your life, honestly, you remove the labels and you see it for what it is. You see the truth of the relationship. You can see the other person as a child of Uni, as a divine being, and your unique connection with that person is your relationship. That is your true relationship. So what happens to that true relationship when you break up? Does it go away? Does it disappear? Is it gone? No. Your unique connection to each person in your life is your relationship. Your unique connection might be they're pissed at you. Your unique connection might be that you blocked them and you're just so mad because they let you down. Your unique connection might change day in and day out. Every single day you might feel differently. You will feel differently about the people in your life. That is the truth. That is the truth of relationships. The more work you can do to honor that truth, the more work you can do to see the reality of the real love that exists between you, no matter if you're far away or close together, or if you talk or you don't talk, that is the divine energy that can never be taken from you and that is eternal. Letting go of our expectations of one another and allowing for the true relationship is what is going to bring harmony into our relationships. Relationships are simply reflections of our own energy. The certain types of people that you are attracting into your life are absolutely reflections of your own resonance as a person. This is a difficult topic to bring up because a lot of times it feels like victim blaming, and in many ways it is. What do I mean? When you're a child and you're programmed with toxic traits, toxic energies, toxic behaviors, and nobody in your life treated you well, you never learned how to be treated well, you never learned how to treat others well, yes, you're going to automatically generate an energy that attracts manipulative, toxic energies into your life. If you are around a lot of toxic energy, you're going to continue to attract toxic energy until you get to a certain awakened age. Age doesn't actually matter, but you start to take responsibility for your own energy and you learn to cultivate a different connection with yourself. It is this connection with yourself that changes your vibration, that changes the level of energy that you're actually emitting, that changes the type of people you're attracting, the type of people in your life. If you give yourself the love that you always deserved, you take a break from relationships, you just listen to yourself, you learn how to become your own lover, you learn how to really nurture yourself, really care for yourself. Wash your dishes, vacuum your carpet, brush your hair, brush your teeth, wash your face. Do it with love, not annoyance. If you learn how to pour love into yourself and you learn how to treat yourself without toxic energy, you learn how to cut out the negative voices in your head, you learn how to be compassionate and understanding for yourself, guess what? You're not going to let people treat you badly after that point, because you're going to see, wow, I know that I am a sweet, lovable angel, and I know that I deserve to be treated right. The energy that you pour into yourself, the energy that you give yourself, is the energy that you emit, and it is the energy that you are attracting. It's very easy to feel like a victim in relationships. I've done it. This person screwed me over, and this person betrayed me, and this person blah, blah, blah. Other people's behavior is not a reflection of your self-worth. And if you're attaching other people's behavior to your self-worth, it's because you have not taken responsibility for your energy and you have not learned how to set proper boundaries. It's okay that you haven't learned to set proper boundaries or take responsibility for yourself, because it's not your fault originally that you're that way. It's because of the childhood trauma that programmed you in a lower vibration. But you can break the toxic pattern. You can break the toxic relationship pattern that you're in, and you can start attracting the love that you actually deserve. And to do that is by taking responsibility for your actions. One other thing you can do is take responsibility, take accountability for your role in every conflict. So I did a 1.5 years in Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, and that is a wonderful program. If you feel like you have a problem with relationships, maybe you feel avoidant, or you feel like you can't stay out of relationships, I highly recommend Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous. You can just Google it. You'll find all the resources you need. And one of the things, they take you through the 12 steps, and on step 4, you actually do a list of all your resentments, of all the things you're mad at people about, all the things you're holding on to that are resentful to you. And what you do then is you take accountability for your part in it. It's not a very healthy practice to look at your childhood self, and take accountability because you weren't responsible for when you were a child. And theoretically, if you're stuck in a toxic pattern, you're not responsible until you learn enough to not be responsible. But think about the places in your life where you're really holding on to resentment for other people, for not treating you well or whatever, and really just look, where was I responsible? Not saying that you're completely responsible only, but there are aspects of your vibrational energy that you are contributing to every conflict. It takes two to tango. Like I said, I've been in some very toxic relationships, and was I just laying around being abused? No. I was fighting back. I was starting fights. I was just as abusive in different ways. We were sharing an energy, we were sharing a resonance, and how that resonance got expressed through us was toxic in different ways. So I take full responsibility for every toxic situation I was a part of because I didn't properly set my boundaries. I didn't know how. I forgive myself for doing that, but I have to acknowledge that every time that something happened to me, I was emitting a certain energy that attracted that situation to me. It's a difficult pill to swallow if you're new to this, and if you are, then allow yourself the compassion and the patience, and know that the reason why you're attracting negative vibrations into your life is because you were programmed that way in a negative society. Let's talk about the Course in Miracles. This book is amazing. I got some places I want to read to you, okay? This is from The Holy Instant, which is an amazing chapter. This is from section 6, The Holy Instant and the Laws of God. And this is what it says. Under the Holy Spirit's teaching, all relationships are seen as total commitments, yet they do not conflict with one another in any way. We're going to talk about that again when we talk about jealousy, okay? So I guess I'm going to skip to this next section. Okay. In such insane relationships, we're talking about toxic relationships, this is the part I really wanted to read. In such insane relationships, the attraction of what you do not want seems to be much stronger than the attraction of what you do want. For each one thinks that he has sacrificed something to the other and hates him for it. Yet this is what he thinks he wants. He is not in love with the other at all. He merely believes he is in love with sacrifice. And for this sacrifice, which he demands of himself, he demands that the other accept the guilt and the sacrifice, and sacrifice himself as well. This little section blew my mind and showed me just how toxic I had been in past relationships because I didn't have boundaries for myself. What I mean is that I thought that love was a sacrifice. I thought that if I contorted myself to fit into my lover's desires, into my lover's needs, to be the perfect person that this person expected me to be — I have BPD, so this is especially so in my case — if I just became the person that they wanted me to be, then they would love me and they would become the person that I wanted them to be. But what happens when you contort your true energy into what you think someone else wants is that you become resentful. You become resentful of the fact that you aren't your true self. You become resentful that they aren't contorting their needs and their desires. And this is something that's it's easy to say, oh, this is terrible. That's a terrible way to approach relationships. But it's also second nature, because a lot of us learned how to do it in our relationships with our parents. We learned how to be the perfect model child for our parents to love us. And so as you contort your own true needs, you become resentful that the other person isn't contorting their true needs so that you can meet in this compromised place of enforced restriction. And then it's shame, 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 feeling shame that you're living a lie. They don't love your true self. They love this contorted version of you. It's then the shame is out externalized, and you're angry at them for not being who you want them to be, that they're not sacrificing themselves. This goes back and forth, and there's just such a toxic energy of, you owe me this, you owe me that, I don't owe you this, okay, I'll do this for you. And this compromise energy comes into relationships. That is not love. That is not love. That is absolutely not love. That is enslavement. That is entrapment. Love is freedom. Love is truth. Love is accepting one another for their true selves. So how do we break this cycle of toxic enslavement? The first thing you want to do is realize, if you're in a relationship, that you're on the same team. A lot of relationships, when people are fighting, it's as if they're in a duel. It's as if they're in a battle for who is worse off. I've told you all before, in one of my first relationships, we used to fight so hard, we would fight until one of us threw up. And whoever threw up would be the winner. And that is just such an obvious example of this shame reality of who's going to feel more shame. They're the winner. It's us versus them, me versus you. It is not unity. It is not love. As you realize that you are on the same team as your partner, as you realize that you're on the same team as all of humanity, that's all one, your perception starts to change. And you start to open your mind up to the reality that maybe their life should go in a different direction. Maybe your life should go in a different direction. Letting go of the expectations and the obsessions we have with planning our lives with people, with expecting them to do certain behaviors, with forcing them to fit into a box they don't naturally fit into, is really at the root of a lot of our toxicity in relationships and a lot of the toxicity within ourselves. Think of it like this. You're expecting somebody else to fit into a role or fit into a box because you're contorting your own needs to do the same. This is your own energy that you are expressing, that you are resonating, that is attracting this energy to you. If you don't do the work on yourself, guess what you're going to have happen? The next relationship you're in is going to be the exact same situation with a different person. The whole world is your reality. You're living in your own energy soup, so you are attracting the same things. Boundaries come in. Boundaries are absolutely essential. Boundaries come in when you learn, oh, I'm not going to contort my energy for somebody else. I'm not going to let somebody else try to guilt me into being someone who I'm not. I'm not going to allow someone else to guilt me into doing things I don't want to do. I'm not going to allow someone to tell me that I'm a bad person if I want to do this thing of my true heart. And so then it takes strength and boundaries and setting clear communication with the people in your life, telling them who you are, really, what you really love, what you really care about, what you really want to do, and letting the chips fall where they may. People don't love to hear the truth, unfortunately. That's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to tell the truth. If you're not telling the truth, you cannot expect to be living in your highest vibrational reality. When you speak your truth, okay, what if you lose everything if you speak the truth? Good. That means that you're not in alignment right now. That means that everything in your life, the more things you have to lose by speaking the truth, the more out of alignment you are. So when you speak the truth and you lose everything, that is a good thing. Because then you are going to be resonating on the frequency of truth. Then you're going to be resonating on the frequency where you actually get your true heart's desires. You actually get everything that you deserve. You cannot have everything you deserve so long as you are not living in your absolute truth. You have to be honest about what you deserve, set your boundaries, and walk away and let go of any and all situations that are not serving your highest good. And like I said, when you leave those relationships, they don't end. You still have that authentic connection. It's also very important to advocate for your own needs in a relationship. So maybe before you set boundaries, advocate for your own needs. I have a very difficult time with this, and I know a lot of us do, where I kind of expect my partners to be mind readers. I kind of expect that they should just know everything that I need and everything that I am and everything that I desire. But that's not true. They're going on their past experiences and their past situations and their childhood trauma, and they have no idea what's going on in my head. So I always felt like my needs were too big. This is my personal thing. Maybe you relate. I always felt like my needs were too big, so I got afraid to speak my needs. And then what would happen is that I was compromising until it would blow up in resentment and anger because I wasn't getting my needs met because I wasn't advocating for them. I wasn't speaking up for my truth. So when I'm uncomfortable now, when I need things, I do my best to communicate and say, this is very painful to me, and I need time, I need space, I need extra care. And whatever my partner or whoever's in my life is allowed, is in alignment with to give me, then we collaborate on getting my needs met, where it's still in alignment with their needs. I was always afraid to demand too much of my partners to the point that they were compromising themselves. But then that's not always the case. You can actually communicate your needs and still have compromise that isn't out of alignment with truth. Think of it like this, like, let's say, like, I was really not feeling well, and I was sleeping on the couch, and I was like, I'm so thirsty, like, and you were here, and I was like, can you get me a glass of water? And to me, getting up and getting a glass of water for myself would be so hard because I just really don't feel good, right? But to you, you're already walking around, you're already getting yourself a glass of water, it's not a big deal. You can get me a glass of water, and maybe I'll feel so guilty because I'm thinking, oh, it must have been just as hard for you to get that glass of water as it was for me. Not true, right? Not true. So I get to say, is it possible that you could get me a glass of water? And then they say, yes, of course. I don't mind getting you a glass of water. That's easy for me. And they can give that to you and help you get your needs met in a way that is not a compromise to their reality. There are ways to have support. There are ways to have compromise. There are ways to have love in a relationship and care and support. And we have to remember that we are playing out these realities of our childhood trauma, and we have to take care of each other like we are children, but set our boundaries when people can't take accountability and responsibility in ways that harm us. Okay, let's talk about jealousy. I dated this guy once, and he was very cute. He was very handsome. And I was very cute, and we looked really good together. And we were both artists, and we both liked to farm, and our Instagrams were just adorable. You know where this is going? We did not have a real relationship. We were connected on ego-based reality. On an ego-based reality. We were not connected on a soul level. We were not paying attention to our true relationship. We were paying attention to how we looked to other people. And because of that, it ended up, long story short, he ended up cheating on me with someone else, right? And I felt extreme jealousy in this case. And I don't normally feel jealousy, but I felt extreme jealousy because this person was filling the role of ego desire better than me, right? According to him. And I hope I'm making sense here because the relationship was not a true-hearted, unique soul connection relationship, because it was ego desire, it was ego-based, it was materialistic, I could actually be replaced. I was a body, and another body was brought in to replace my body. Let's just put it that simply, okay? And because I had no ability to control that part of reality, there's no way that I could make my body more attractive than that other person's body. In this case, I lost what I had. And this is really important because at the root of jealousy is the feeling that we are going to lose something. It is the feeling of insecurity. It is the feeling of loss or of danger. I'm not neurotypical. I know that I don't experience jealousy in the same way as other people. So I'm going to do my best to talk about it, but that is the moment in which I felt the most jealous, and it's because I was living in an ego-based reality. There are times when other people are powerful, maybe because they are powerful in a way that my partner values, in a way that I'm not, and that intimidates me and makes me feel scared that I am going to lose something. That is jealousy to me. That's when I feel jealous. And it's rare, but it happens. And how I deal with that jealousy is by reminding myself that what is truly mine can never be lost. And I remind myself of the true reality of what relationships are. A true energy of what a relationship is a true connection between you and another person. That is a unique connection that no one else in the universe can fulfill. There is no one else in the universe who can have the exact relationship that you have with another person. That is your unique relationship. There is nothing, no one, who can come between you in that way. They might take away, if your partner goes and is in love with someone else. I had my last boyfriend break up with me for someone else. And I had this dream of him. And he said to me in this dream, he said, listen, Unicole, you don't understand, I'm in love with Shakti. I had to follow Shakti because I love her. And I didn't know what Shakti was, and I looked it up. And Shakti is the goddess of governing the life force energy. It's the flow of life. So in this dream, my ex-boyfriend was saying, I followed what was right for me. I followed the flow of my life to be with this other person because that's what I was called to do. That's what was aligned for me. And I wanted him to contort his behavior and to deny his desire and to just stay with me even though he didn't want to be with me because I was demented and delusional. And I wasn't focused on the bigger picture, right? I was focused on the need to hold on to something and not let it go because I didn't want to lose it because I was afraid. And when you're able to let every person follow their true heart's desires, you are able to allow for the true relationship that exists between you. This is not a relationship of obligation or expectation. This is a relationship of expansion, of allowing the other person to explore what they really desire and allowing yourself to explore what you really desire. I talk about this with polyamory all the time. A lot of people are not actually monogamous, but they say they are. And that leads to cheating, and that leads to resentment, and that leads to people breaking up. But what if we just accepted the fact that we have desires outside of our monogamous relationships? What if we could see one another and say, I understand that you have a unique relationship with other people that you don't share with me. And I'm not threatened by it because they don't have what we have. And you allow the people in your life to expand their energy to do what is true and right for themselves while still being in respectful communication with each other. What does life look like when you expand your relationship? Yeah, this part of the Course in Miracles. Let's read this again, this section that I read before. Under the Holy Spirit's teachings, all relationships are seen as total commitments, yet they do not conflict with one another in any way. No relationship conflicts with another relationship in any way. The only way that relationships with other people conflict is in 3D ways. Time, attention, sharing space. If you're living in a UNICULT or a higher dimensional way of seeing relationships and you're not living just by labels, yeah, if you're a girlfriend, you can get replaced by another girlfriend. If you're a boyfriend, you can get replaced by another boyfriend. Oh no, I got replaced. If you're looking at it in the simplistic ego-based 3D reality, yeah, you can get replaced. But if you're looking at it from the expanded version of reality, from the UNICULT way of seeing things, you are truly connected to someone. It doesn't matter if you're sharing physical space. It doesn't matter if you're talking. It doesn't matter any of those things. You are connected with that person, and that is your true relationship. It can never be taken away. And it is always having a true expression, no matter what you say, no matter what you do. There is a true core in every single relationship. When you have jealousy, it is valid. You know why it's valid? Because you, A, live in ego-based reality, or B, because you had a lot of things happen to you that were unfair when you were a child, that were very unjust, and that were cruel when you were a child. So when you have jealousy, don't just say, wow, jealousy is not real. I'm just living in an ego. I'm just so spiritual. I just want to be spiritually enlightened, and try to like shut it up. No, that's not the way to handle negative emotions. Feel the feeling of jealousy in your body. It is one of the worst feelings, isn't it? It makes me sweat. It makes me sick. It makes my skin crawl. It makes me feel like I'm shrinking into nothingness. How does it feel in your body when you feel jealousy? And then acknowledge that it's a valid reaction to something that you're actually afraid of, that is a valid concern. And then from there, you can start to address the fact that that's never going to happen. That what is truly yours will never be lost. That you don't know the spirit of Uni's plan, and that we can just let go of our expectation of reality and allow for the flow of life, allow for the Shakti of life to play, so that we can be truly happy. When the truth prevails, we can be truly happy. What is real can never be lost. What is yours can never be taken. Take the energy of your jealousy and feed it into yourself, transform it, transmute it into self-love, into self-care. I am praying for each of you to have healthy relationships with yourself and with others. And I promise the more that you love yourself, the more you are going to be resonating in the energy of attracting the right partners into your life. And the more you can free your mind of these restricted labels and expectations of each other, the happier you're going to be. The freer you're going to be to see the truth of the relationships that you have in your life. And you can see each person in your life as a child of God, as a child of the Spirit of Uni, as a divine angel. And you can send love to their higher self and send love to your higher self and just laugh at the funny little ego way that we interact in this world and see the pain for what it is and just love them and love yourself. Thank you so much. I hope you have a beautiful Valentine's Day. Please treat yourself to some healthy snacks. Drink lots of water and care for yourself. Join UNICULT today. UNIBLESS!